The discovery. I always knew our new Victorian house held secrets in its ancient walls, but nothing prepared me for the chilling discovery in the basement. It began as a mundane Sunday, with the rain tapping rhythmically against the window panes. I decided to explore the basement, which we had largely ignored since moving in. As I descended the creaky stairs, a musty smell enveloped me, the kind that whispered of long-forgotten things. The basement was cluttered with the previous owner's belongings, but in the corner, I noticed an oddity, a wall that seemed out of place. Curiosity piqued, I pushed aside boxes and cobwebs to reveal a small, concealed door, cleverly hidden within the wall's design. My heart raced as I contemplated the door's existence. It wasn't on the blueprints, it wasn't supposed to be here. With trembling hands, I opened the door to reveal a room shrouded in darkness. A flick of the light switch unveiled a sight so macabre, it sent shivers down my spine. Dolls. Dozens of them, all seated around a miniature wooden table, their glassy eyes reflecting the dim light. But it was their faces that horrified me. They were replicas of my family, each detail meticulously crafted, and their eyes were sewn shut with crude, black stitches. I stumbled back, gasping for air, my mind reeling from the grotesque tableau. Who had created these dolls, and why? As I turned to leave, a soft whisper caressed my ear, "Stay with us." I spun around, but the room was empty, save for the eerie congregation of dolls. Was it my imagination, or was something sinister at play? The days that followed were plagued with unexplainable occurrences. Shadows danced in the corners of my vision, and whispers echoed through the halls at night. My family laughed off my concerns, attributing them to the stress of the move. But I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched, that the dolls in the basement were somehow alive. One evening, as dusk settled, I heard a faint melody drifting from the basement. It was a lullaby, one my mother used to sing. I was alone in the house, or so I thought. Compelled by a force I couldn't resist, I found myself standing before the hidden room once more. The door creaked open on its own, inviting me in. As I stepped inside, the lullaby grew louder, and the dolls turned their sewn-shut eyes towards me. A cold dread filled my heart as I realized the lullaby was not coming from the dolls, but from something much darker, lurking in the shadows of the room. And then, everything went black. The dolls haunted my dreams. Their glassy eyes, sewn shut with black thread, followed me wherever I went. I tried to ignore them, but their presence gnawed at my sanity. My family dismissed my fears, chalking it up to stress and fatigue. But I knew better. The hidden room held secrets, and I was determined to unravel them. I researched the house's history, digging through dusty archives and yellowed newspapers. The previous owner, an eccentric artist named Evelyn Hart, had vanished without a trace. Rumors whispered of her obsession with dolls, how she believed they held the souls of lost loved ones. The resemblance between the dolls and my family was uncanny, too uncanny to be coincidental. One night, unable to sleep, I descended into the basement once more. The dolls sat frozen, their stitched eyes fixed on me. I reached out to touch one, a porcelain replica of my daughter, Lily. As my fingers grazed her cold cheek, I heard a voice, soft as a sigh, "They see what you cannot." The room pulsed with energy, a malevolence that clawed at my mind. I traced the stitches across Lily's eyelids, wondering what horrors she had witnessed. The other dolls seemed equally aware, their expressions frozen in silent agony. Why had Evelyn created them? And why did they resemble my family? Days blurred into weeks as I delved deeper. I discovered that Evelyn had lost her own daughter, Emily, in a tragic accident. Desperate to reunite with her child, she turned to forbidden rituals, stitching together these cursed dolls. But something went wrong, their eyes remained shut, trapping their souls in eternal darkness. My wife, Sarah, grew distant, her once vibrant eyes now haunted. She avoided the basement, sensing the malevolence that clung to the dolls. I couldn't blame her, I felt it too. The house groaned with secrets, its walls whispering of forgotten tragedies. I wondered if Evelyn's obsession had consumed her, if she had become one with the dolls. Late one night, I heard Lily's voice from the basement. She sang the same lullaby I'd heard before, the one Evelyn had stitched into their very fabric. I followed the melody, descending into the hidden room. The dolls sat in a circle, their eyes still shut, but their mouths moved in sync with Lily's song. As the lullaby reached its haunting crescendo, the room trembled. The walls cracked, revealing ancient symbols etched into the stone. I understood then. The dolls were a conduit, a bridge between worlds. Evelyn had sacrificed herself to bind their souls, hoping to glimpse her daughter once more. But the price was steep. The dolls hungered for new souls, and my family was their unwitting prey. I stumbled back, my mind unraveling. The dolls' eyes remained shut, but I sensed their hunger, their need to see. I had to find a way to break the curse, to free my family from their stitched gaze. But as I climbed the basement stairs, I heard Lily's voice again, pleading, "Stay with us." The dolls' whispers grew louder, their stitched eyes pleading for release. I couldn't escape their gaze, even when I closed my own eyes. My family remained blissfully unaware, but I knew the truth. The dolls hungered for souls, and they had chosen us. I delved deeper into Evelyn's past, desperate for answers. The local archives revealed a chilling tale. Evelyn's daughter, Emily, had vanished on a stormy night, her body never found. The townsfolk whispered of a curse, of a grieving mother who turned to forbidden magic. Evelyn's obsession with dolls had led her to the hidden room, where she performed a binding ritual, a desperate attempt to reunite with Emily. The ritual required a sacrifice, a soul to bridge the gap between worlds. Evelyn chose her own, stitching her eyes shut as she whispered incantations. The dolls became vessels, their porcelain forms infused with Emily's essence. But something went wrong. Their eyes remained closed, trapping them in a half-life. And now, they hungered for more. I confronted Sarah, my wife, about the dolls. She laughed it off, dismissing my fears as paranoia. But her eyes held a distant look, as if memories clawed at her mind. I knew she had seen them too, the dolls, their eyes sewn shut, whispering secrets only she could hear. One night, as the moon hung low, I descended into the basement. The dolls awaited me, their silence pregnant with anticipation. I studied their faces, their stitched mouths seemed to move, forming words I couldn't hear. I wondered if Evelyn's soul lingered among them, if she watched from the shadows. Lily, my daughter, had changed. Her laughter turned hollow, her eyes distant. She spent hours in the basement, talking to the dolls. I listened outside the door, straining to decipher their conversations. They spoke of longing, of lost memories, of a hunger that could never be sated. I researched the binding ritual, desperate for a way to break the curse. The solution lay within the dolls themselves. Their eyes, sewn shut, held the key. I needed to undo Evelyn's work, to unbind their souls. But the ritual required a sacrifice, one that would sever the connection forever. I confronted Lily's doll, her porcelain face devoid of emotion. "You're not my daughter," I whispered. "You're a vessel." She tilted her head, her stitched eyes unyielding. "Stay with us," she murmured. The room trembled, the walls cracking further. The dolls' whispers merged into a cacophony, urging me to choose. I made my decision. I would sacrifice myself, sever the link between worlds. As I stitched my own eyes shut, I felt the room shift, the boundary between life and death thinning. The dolls watched, their porcelain forms quivering. I whispered the incantation, my blood mingling with the thread. The room erupted, a vortex of light and shadow. The dolls' eyes snapped open, their gazes piercing my soul. I glimpsed Emily, her spirit trapped within them. She smiled, her eyes no longer sewn shut. "Thank you," she whispered, and then I was falling, spiraling into darkness. Now, as I record this, my eyes remain closed. I am one with the dolls, bound by the same curse. My family lives above, oblivious to my sacrifice. But sometimes, when the wind howls through the eaves, they hear my lullaby, the same one Evelyn sang to Emily. And they know, I am still here, watching, waiting. The hidden room remains, its secrets intact. The dolls hunger, their eyes wide open, seeking new souls. Beware the house with the concealed basement, for within its walls, the line between life and death blurs, and the dolls stitch their stories into eternity. Story 2. The Sinister Smile. I always believed mirrors held a piece of truth that the world couldn't see. But lately, the truth has become a twisted game. It started subtly, the way shadows creep across the walls at dusk, unnoticed until darkness swallows the room. My husband, Ethan, has never been one for vanity, but his reflection has taken on a life of its own. It began one evening as we prepared for bed. I caught a glimpse of his reflection in the bathroom mirror. It was smiling, a cold, calculating smile that never reached his eyes. I blinked, and it was gone. I told myself it was fatigue, a trick of the light. But the seed of unease was planted. Days passed, and the reflection grew bolder. It no longer waited for my fleeting glances. It moved when Ethan was still, its gestures mocking, its eyes following me with an intelligence that shouldn't exist in a pane of glass. I tried to speak to Ethan about it, but how do you tell someone their reflection is betraying them? He laughed it off, the sound hollow against the backdrop of my growing fear. The reflection's independence became more pronounced. One morning, as Ethan brushed his teeth, his reflection turned to me, its finger pressed to where its lips would be, commanding silence. Ethan saw nothing, but I was frozen, a scream clawing at my throat. Tonight, the reflection crossed a line. As Ethan slept, I watched it stand in the mirror, its movements no longer mimicking his. It was exploring, testing the boundaries of its glass prison. And then, it looked directly at me, its smile wide and malicious, and whispered my name. I'm writing this now because I fear what comes next. The reflection isn't just a reflection anymore. It's something else, something alive. And it knows I can see it. The reflection's malevolence grew with each passing day. It no longer confined itself to the bathroom mirror. It appeared in the hallway, in the antique mirror above the fireplace, even in the polished surface of our kitchen knives. Its smile was a constant presence, a reminder that something had crossed over from the other side. Ethan remained blissfully unaware. He went about his routine, oblivious to the sinister doppelganger that shadowed him. I watched as the reflection whispered secrets to him, secrets that made his eyes widen with fear before he dismissed them as mere figments of imagination. I tried to capture evidence, photos, videos, but the reflection was elusive. It knew when I was watching, and it retreated into the glass, leaving Ethan's reflection innocent and unassuming. I felt like a detective chasing a phantom, my sanity fraying at the edges. One night, I woke to find Ethan standing by the bedroom window, staring out into the moonlit garden. His reflection stood beside him, its fingers tracing patterns on the glass. I strained to hear their conversation, but their voices were hushed, carried away by the wind. The reflection's smile widened, revealing teeth that seemed too sharp for a mere reflection. It beckoned to me, and I stepped closer, my heart pounding. "What do you want?" I whispered. Its voice echoed in my mind, a chorus of whispers. "To be free," it said. "To step out of the mirror and taste life." "Why Ethan?" I asked. "Why my husband?" "Because he's weak," it replied. "His soul is a fragile vessel, and I can break it." I stumbled back, horror gripping my chest. The reflection's intentions were clear. It wanted to replace Ethan, to wear his skin like a disguise. And it needed my help. I had to find a way to stop it. But how do you fight something that exists between worlds? I researched ancient rituals, desperate for answers. The mirror had become a portal, a gateway to a realm beyond our understanding. As dawn approached, I made my decision. I would confront the reflection, force it back into the glass. But when I returned to the bedroom, Ethan was gone. Only the reflection remained, its smile triumphant. And then it spoke, using Ethan's voice. "You should have chosen better, my dear." The house felt different after Ethan disappeared. The air was thick with anticipation, as if the walls themselves held their breath. I wandered from room to room, searching for any sign of him. But it was the mirror that drew me, the cursed mirror that had become a portal to something beyond comprehension. The reflection awaited me, its smile now a rictus of hunger. "He's with us," it whispered. "In the in-between." "What do you want?" I demanded, my voice trembling. "Why, Ethan?" The reflection's eyes glowed with malevolence. "He was an easy vessel," it said. "His doubts, his fears, they made him susceptible. But you, my dear, you're different." I clenched my fists. "What do you mean?" "You see the truth," it replied. "You've glimpsed the other side. You know what lies beyond the glass." I remembered the ancient rituals, the salt circles, the whispered incantations. But the reflection was no longer contained. It had tasted freedom, and it hungered for more. "You can't have me," I said. "I won't let you." The reflection laughed, a sound that echoed through the room. "You think you have a choice? We are bound now, you and I. The mirror is our tether." I studied the glass, its surface fractured like a spider's web. "How do I break it?" "Ah, the price," it said. "There's always a price. You must give up something precious, something that binds you to this world." I thought of Ethan, lost in the in-between. "Take me," I said. "Release him." The reflection's smile widened. "Very well." It stepped out of the mirror, its form shifting, becoming corporeal. I felt its icy touch on my skin, its fingers tracing my veins. And then it whispered its name, a name that shattered my resolve. "Mara," it said. "I am the reflection of all your fears." The room spun, reality folding in on itself. I glimpsed Ethan, his eyes pleading, before he vanished into the fractured glass. And now, I stand here, my reflection no longer my own. Mara smiles back at me, her eyes hungry, her fingers tracing patterns on the mirror. She whispers secrets, and I listen, knowing that the in-between awaits. The end. Subscribe for more. Thank you.